In August 2025, a young man sat down and typed something that stopped the internet cold. He wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't trying to go viral. He was just a kid. Well, a 21-year-old, now trying to say out loud something he'd been carrying. For most of his life, he wrote, forced apart, pitted against each other. All the fame and money in the world. But what about kids being kids? His name is Collin Gosselin. And if you watched TLC in the 2000s, you watched him grow up. What you didn't see was what was happening off camera. Today, we're going back. Back to the show that pulled in almost 10 million viewers an episode. Back to the family America thought it knew, and we're going to talk honestly about what it actually did to those 8 kids. If you grew up in the late 2000s, Jon and Kate Plus 8 was just part of the furniture. It premiered on TLC in 2007, and the premise was simple enough. Jon and Kate Gosselin were a regular Pennsylvania couple, raising 8 kids, twin girls, Mady and Cara, and then 6 more, who all arrived at once. Sextuplets, 3 boys, 3 girls. Born in May 2004, the cameras followed them everywhere. Grocery, shopping, bath time, family vacations, birthday parties. The chaos of feeding 8 children at once, and America ate it up at its peak. The season 5 premiere pulled in 9.8 million viewers. That wasn't just cable numbers. That beat out primetime broadcast TV that same night. For a show about a family from Pennsylvania, that is extraordinary. People connected with it because it felt real. Kate was organized, intense, sometimes brutally, impatient on camera. Jon was laid back, often overwhelmed, sometimes checked out. The kids were loud and funny and completely unaware of how many people were watching them. But here's the question. Nobody was really asking back then. What does it actually do to a child to grow up with cameras in their face? Their worst moments preserved forever, their families' private fights turned into content for strangers. We're starting to find out because those kids are adults now. And some of them are finally talking. Before we get to the kids, we have to talk about what happened to the marriage, because it set the tone for everything that came after. By 2009, 2 years into the show's massive run, Jon and Kate Gosselin's marriage was visibly falling apart on television. The arguments were sharper. The silences were longer. Viewers started noticing before the couple admitted anything publicly. In June 2009, they announced they were separating. The divorce was finalized later that year. And here's where it gets complicated. The show didn't stop. Kate kept filming. The cameras kept coming. The kids kept growing up on television. Except now, instead of filming to parents, they were filming a broken family, trying to hold it together in front of an audience of millions. Jon eventually stepped back from filming. Kate continued rebranding the show as Kate's Plus 8, which ran until 2017. 10 years. Those kids were on television for 10 years. Mady and Cara, the twins, were 3 years old when cameras first arrived. They were teenagers when it finally ended. The sextuplets were born into it. They never knew a life without cameras. And now, years later, the real story is coming out in pieces through TikTok posts, interviews, and legal documents that most people never heard about. Asterisk of all 8 Gosselin children. Colin has been the most vocal about what life was really like. And what he's describing is not the warm, chaotic, loving family that TLC sold to the world in 2016. When Colin was around 12 years old, Kate sent him to a residential facility for children with special needs. The exact reasons were never made fully public. Kate described it at the time as addressing behavioral and emotional issues. Colin has since described it very differently. He says he was institutionalized. He says, being placed in that facility is the reason he was eventually discharged from the Marines. And in one of the more disturbing claims he's made publicly, he accused his mother of tying him up in the basement as a child. Kate's representatives have pushed back on these claims, but Colin has not backed down. What's clear is that while he was in that facility, He and his father Jon had almost no contact. Jon has spoken publicly about believing Kate used what he calls parental alienation to cut him off from 6 of his 8 children. In 2084, Colin moved in with Jon full-time. So did his sister Hannah. The other 6 stayed with Kate. And that's where the real heartbreak of this story lives. Not in the divorce, not in the ratings, but in the fact that 8 siblings who grew up sharing a crib are now essentially living in 2 separate families, many of them estranged from each other. Colin wrote about it himself. The tears I shed behind closed doors thinking about the memories we could have shared. That's not a PR statement. That's a person grieving a childhood. So, where are all 8 Gosselin kids today? Because this is the part that surprises people. The twins, Mady and Cara, are 24 years old now. Cara rode for Fordham University and studied math and economics. Mady has been more visible on social media and has posted her own responses to some of Colin's claims, suggesting the siblings don't all see their childhood the same way. Hannah, who moved in with Jon, launched her own skincare brand called Gosselin Girl Beauty and graduated high school in 2023. She was at Jon's wedding when he married his partner, Stephanie Labo, in November 2025. Colin was there too. He called it one of the most emotional days of his life. Alexis, one of the sextuplets still living with Kate, made a brief appearance in one of her mother's TikTok videos. Kate has been posting simple, quiet content, cooking videos, daily routines, a far cry from the production machine that once followed her everywhere. In one comment, she wrote about her kids. I don't see them much anymore. They come and go and I'm just left behind hoping they'll stay longer. That line hits differently when you remember she had cameras on those same kids for a decade. Leah is in college, keeps a low profile, appears to be a Taylor Swift fan based on her dorm room decor. Joel and Aiden have mostly stayed out of public view, and Kate herself. She confirmed in 2025 that she is now in a relationship with her former bodyguard, Steve Neild, the same man she denied having any romantic involvement with during her marriage to Jon. That denial was one of the things that fueled the original divorce drama back in 2009. 16 years later, she confirmed it was real. Here's what I keep coming back to when I think about this family. Jon and Kate Plus 8 was never really a show about parenting. It was a show about access. TLC bought access to a family's most private moments and sold it to millions of people, and everyone involved. The network, the parents. Maybe even the viewers told themselves it was fine, because the kids seemed happy on camera. But cameras don't show you what happens after they turn off. They don't show you a 12-year-old being sent away. They don't show you siblings growing up estranged. They don't show you a grown man on TikTok grieving the childhood he never really got to have. These kids didn't choose this. They were born into it. And the adults around them, all of them, had a responsibility that not all of them lived up to. The fact that most of the Gosselin kids seem to be doing okay as adults is genuinely something. Colin's honesty takes real courage. Hannah, building a business is impressive. Cara rowing at Fordham University is impressive. They turned out remarkably normal for people who never had a normal childhood. But normal and okay are not the same thing as whole. And I think Colin's TikTok made that clear. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think reality TV should be allowed to feature children the way Jon and Kate Plus 8 did? Or do you think there should be laws protecting kids from growing up on camera? Drop your answer below. This is one of those conversations that actually matters, so I genuinely want to hear from you.